Did you see the trailer for Ahsoka?
Yes, I'm excited.
Did you happen to see a familiar blue admiral?
I think you know that I did. Yeah.
I mean, if you were watching it with your eyes open, you did.
Yeah, then you
right?
saw it. Then you saw it.
And then if you weren't, we distinctly heard some say he's the heir to the Empire.
I loved it.
I was watching it in my car because someone had told me, they were like, oh, the Ahsoka trailer's out. And I was like, all right, I got to stop. And I'm like in my car. I can only imagine like what it sounded like from the outside, that like muted, what? You know, some nerd in the car just like screaming high pitched.
Yeah.
Dude, that gave me like some serious like goosebumps when they said some say he's the heir to the Empire.
Oh, I know.
I was like, oh man.
It was exciting. And here's the thing. You haven't watched Rebels, right? You haven't watched Rebels at all.
I haven't really watched Rebels, no.
I loved Rebels. Like we watched the whole thing and I'm thinking like I need to rewatch this show before Ahsoka comes out.
Mm-hmm.
I think had you watched Rebels, you would be excited for a lot of the cameos in that trailer because everything that happened, I was like, yes.
I
Rebels
should.
So
and you know,
good. It's so good.
I never finished the Clone Wars either. I think I got through 5 seasons of it. I never finished.
Yeah.
I never finished the last couple. I think it was what, 7 seasons, 8 seasons, maybe.
I don't know.
Like I never finished
a couple
that,
times.
so
like I get a chunk into it, and then I'm kind of like, whatever. And then I come back and I do a chunk, and then I'm like, whatever. So sometime I just need to sit down and power through it. But yes,
Rebels I started. Yeah. I got. I think mostly through the first season. I got mostly through the first season, and I just I trailed off. Something else came on, and I was like, oh, I'll watch that instead. So
Thrawn plays a pretty big role in Rebels too, so it would definitely be worth like the time to sit down and watch it. But yes, I was excited about the Ahsoka trailer, and I thought of you instantly when I saw it. It looked great.
Yeah, I immediately was like, oh, I need to start reading the books again. Yep, I need to bring it out. The Timothy Zahn series. Boy. It's time.
Wow, I would be nervous to do that. Would they hold up? I don't know. I'd be kind of afraid to try that.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I haven't read them since I was like, I don't know, like 17.
They were among the first Star Wars. I think I read the Corellian trilogy first, like Assault on Salona and all those.
Oh, yeah.
But Heir to the Empire was one of the very first Star Wars books that I read. And like, it's really stuck with me, you know. I've never read like the graphic novel adaptations or anything, but yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they did a lot of graphic novel adaptations, but yeah, definitely excited about the Ahsoka trailer. I also watched with my son the Young Jedi Adventures. It's a new show that's going to be on Disney Plus, and they put out these shorts on the Disney or Star Wars like YouTube channel, and it was pretty fun. One of the Jedi is a little blue bear looking kind of creature, and I was like, "Is that an Ewok? Are we getting a Jedi Ewok?" But I looked it up, and it said he's a Puba. So I feel like that's just a thing that they made up for this.
Man,
why not make him an Ewok? That's all I'm saying. Make him
for
an
real.
Ewok.
Put him on the board, you know, official.
Yeah.
Welcome to This Endorian Life, a Star Wars podcast from the Radio Meanwhile Network. My name is Steve Rudd.
I'm Nick Gunning, and we're following the Ewoks from Return of the Jedi to the Ewok TV movies, the 80s cartoon, and beyond. We don't have any choice but beyond, Steve, because this is the last episode.
This is it. Oh yeah, there is only the beyond. The great beyond.
That's all that's left.
Beyond Ewoks.
That's right.
So today we're discussing Season 2, Episode 12. If you've been paying attention, we flip-flopped some episodes.
Yes.
So Episode 12, The Battle for the Sunstar. This episode originally aired on December 6th, 1986, and was a rerun on January 10th, 1987, to serve as the series finale. We boys.
For both of them. That's true. Man, I am so glad that we did it in this order, because can you imagine going from this episode to Party Ewok? Oh my gosh.
I just like, this is such a great episode. I'm saying it up front. This was a great episode. This is the best episode of Ewoks that's ever been had.
This blew my mind, and it almost made me angry, because like I was like, okay, if you can do this, why the heck did you just make a Smurfs clone for 26 episodes, you know, and then toss this in? I don't understand. But I mean, it does kind of function well as a series finale, because it feels like kind of a transition into like the Empire and Star Wars and everything. But yeah, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yes.
Let me tell you about this. It was written by Paul Dini, directed by Dale Scott, on VHS as Ewoks 6, Battle for the Planet Endor. I would like to remind everyone that Endor is not a planet, but in fact a forest moon.
It's a moon.
But that's what it's called. A confusing name for an Ewoks compilation, since the movie was called The Battle for Endor, and this is called Battle for Planet Endor. But anyway, that's how it was released on VHS, probably PAL VHS. I think a lot of these were like UK releases. Featured cast member today. This is the last time we're going to be talking about our old friend Danny Delk, who voices Wicket in season 2. Done loads of voice work on video games, and some of these we've covered in the past. He did a lot of Star Wars games. He did the Top Gun game. I know he did some voice work on Agent Under Fire, that James Bond game that I remember playing that on GameCube. But spanning from 1990 to present at time of recording, he's had a long association with the Monkey Island franchise. So in the 1990, he did some voice work. Do you? Okay.
Yeah, I played that game. It's such a bizarre game.
Okay.
The original
Secret of Monkey Island, he's in 1990. And then from 1990 until the most recent at time of recording was the 2022 game Return to Monkey Island. And in a lot of these, he serves as a narrator. A lot of these, he voices a character named Murray. And then other voices throughout. But yeah, it's a long stretch of time where old Denny Delk has been popping up into these Monkey Island games.
Man, that's great to have, to just be the longevity of voice work. I
was thinking that too. It's just like, call him up and he can come and record a couple of lines,
Yeah, like I know a guy, Yeah. He's always available. I'm sure he's always available.
Yeah.
That's just cool that he's able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially now you can almost do it wherever you want. Like I've heard Mark Hamill talking about like recording dialogue in like hotel closets and things like that, just to like get the sound muffled and everything. So yeah, nice work if you can get it.
Well, his work as the Joker in the Batman animated series is just that's freaking Emmy award winning. It's so good. You go back and our listeners, you just go back and do yourself a favor and listen to a couple of those episodes, or find YouTube. Not find YouTube. Find the videos on YouTube, clips and stuff. And if you can find one of him actually doing it, it's wild how he gets so into his character.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, that's Luke Skywalker, and he sounds so evil.
That blew my mind. Like, because I was watching Batman the Animated Series, like I remember like staying up and watching like the prime time.
It was like
debut.
8 p.m. or something, right?
Yeah,
like
it was.
Right?
Yeah, it was
8
a
or
prime
9
time thing. Yeah. And when the first Joker episode aired, like it was years of hearing that Joker voice before I realized it was Mark Hamill, and then it blew my mind.
Yeah.
Like
same thing. I had no idea, and when I found it, I was like, now I can't unhear his voice.
Yeah,
and it's so bizarre. It's so bizarre.
I know. Yeah. All right.
Man.
Well,
crazy.
This plot. I mean, if you're one of those people, and I know, like we've had on social media, people have commented that like, they're Star Wars fans. They like the Ewoks. They've been listening to the podcast, but haven't actually been watching the show. This is one I feel like you need to watch because it is. Well, I don't know. Tell us the detailed plot, Steve, because it's unbelievable.
I will. The uber detailed plot of season 2, episode 12, Battle for the Sunstar. We open to a looming star destroyer orbiting the forest moon of Endor.
Right away. It's like,
right away. Boom. I always type in, we open to, and then I press play, and I was like,
Yep.
Star destroyer.
I
mean, imagine it just like episode 4. It opens the same way with a star destroyer coming overhead.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
So the star destroyer is orbiting the forest moon of Endor. Dr. Rhaegar, an imperial doctor hungry for power, relishes the thought of having the Sunstar. Admiral Kaz does not share the doctor's optimistic approach and doubts anything on the backwater planet of Endor could be of use to the Empire, even if the mission has the Emperor's direct approval. Down on Endor, the Ewoks are delivering Jingjang berries to the local Gooba bird's nest to feed the baby Goobas. Wicket thinks it's a waste of time because it won't do anything for his belt of honor. But Nisa reminds him that if you help others, they may help you someday. The Gooba babies are so happy about the berries, they lift Nisa into the air and drop her accidentally, causing the whole gang to fall off the tree to the forest floor. Suddenly, they hear an animal crying and find a forest deer encased in some sort of trap. Attempting to get the deer out, Latara accidentally gets sucked into the trap herself. Tebow accidentally gets his pouch of magic dust sucked in, which breaks the trap. Good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Once free, the whole gang is attacked by Dr. Rhaegar's mechanized walkers, trapping Tebow and Nissa. The Doctor threatens to hurt the Ewoks if they don't give up where their village is. Wicket caves and tells the Doctor where the village is, but the group is taken captive anyway.
What a twist.
Tells you to trust the Empire, man.
No. Also, Wicket could have said anything and they would have believed it.
I know, he could have been
The
like,
location, but he really read it out.
Where's
Easy.
an enemy that
Right.
they've had? Yeah, past you gotta go past the forest, the floating forest, and then
Send him wherever they were gonna send Norky to be banished. Send him there.
Just send him where
Yeah.
Don't worry about it, our buddy Norky's been there.
Yeah. Norky.
You're cool. Wicket, Nissa, Tebow, and Latara are held prisoner inside the Doctor's ship. Fortunately, they befriend a small droid named PD-28 on the ship and convince it to help them escape. Unfortunately, the droid leads them into an escape pod. But fortunately, the Ewoks accidentally activate the pod, hurling them throughout the forest, disturbing all the creatures and making their way, somehow, to their village. Meanwhile, at Bright Tree Village, Dr. Rhaegar is laying siege, blasting his way through the Ewok defenses. That is until Logray grabs the Sunstar and begins to destroy the Doctor's droid walkers. In the fray, Logray drops the Sunstar and it is claimed by the Doctor before he speeds off in his ship. The group arrives at the village too late to inform the village of Dr. Rhaegar. With the Sunstar gone, there is no knowing what will happen next. The village is intrigued by the ship the youth Ewoks took, and Latara accidentally reactivates it, showing them how to use it. Tebow, Wicket, Nissa, and PD-28 manage to make it on board before they set off once again. Their droid friend PD-28 informs them that Dr. Rhaegar is headed into space, so they pursue to get the Sunstar back. The Ewoks get their first taste of space travel when the artificial gravity is accidentally turned off. Dr. Rhaegar's mission was successful, and the Admiral informs him the Emperor is on his way to Endor now. The Doctor is pleased as the galaxy will soon feel the power of the Sunstar. The Ewoks approach Admiral Kaz's Star Destroyer and successfully dock. However, the Admiral is waiting for them. The Ewoks hide on board while PD-28 tells Admiral Kaz he managed to escape the Ewoks in the pod. The Admiral is furious and orders PD to be recycled immediately. The Ewoks overhear this and decide to split up. Wicket and Nissa will go after PD, while Tebow and Latara find Dr. Rhaegar and the Sunstar. The group dons disguises that really couldn't fool even the dullest twit. However, they manage to fool some stormtroopers and even attract the attention of an overly affectionate mouse droid. They interrupt Rhaegar as he examines the Sunstar, who is not fooled by their pathetic disguises. The Doctor forces them to watch him build a mighty weapon, which he will first test on them before using it to destroy the Emperor, making him the next Emperor. Rhaegar launches Tebow and Latara into space in a pod that he will use as his target practice. Meanwhile, PD is about to be scrapped, but Wicket and Nissa save him in time and head off to find Tebow and Latara. They find the Doctor and they blast into his lab before he can blow up Tebow and Latara in their pod. In the ensuing tussle, the Ewoks accidentally discharge the Doctor's new weapon, which cripples the Emperor's shuttle as it approaches the Star Destroyer. The Doctor is distraught as his weapon was fired at the Emperor too soon, failing to destroy it. Before attempting to destroy Wicket, Nissa grabs the Sunstar and blasts the Doctor with its energy, causing him to drop Wicket. The Doctor pulls out his blaster and attempts to blast the Ewoks. Using the Sunstar to fire back, Wicket disarms Rhaegar, causing his blaster to explode. In the smoke following the explosion, Wicket and Nissa escape, but Rhaegar is captured quickly by stormtroopers who aren't too happy that he fired on the Emperor. Nissa, Wicket, and PD race to their pod, and Nissa replicates Latara's activation sequence with her butt. Before they head home, they pick up Tebow and Latara in their floating pod. Meanwhile, Dr. Rhaegar faces the Admiral, who informs him that the Emperor plans to banish the Doctor himself. Stormtroopers carry the Doctor off and deliver him to the Emperor's personal shuttle. Dun dun dun. Back on Endor, the gang arrives and wholeheartedly thank PD-28 for helping them. They invite PD to stay, but he insists on returning to his real master before the Emperor stole him. PD parts way in their borrowed pod. As PD flies off, Latara makes sure to remind Nisa that she always says if you help others, they'll help you someday. Nisa giggles and agrees with her. Roll credits.
So the Gooba birds never come back, though.
No, the Gooba birds never come back.
Doesn't it seem like they should? Doesn't that seem like the setup?
It was the lesson, right? So when that was said, I was like, wait a second. It seemed too weird that Nisa giggled. So I rewound and I caught the line where Nisa said, if you help others, one day they might help you. So Latara, so it was only fitting at the end that Latara was like, so I always say,
Yeah.
which is perfect,
I guess it just seems like the setup there was that they helped the Goobas in the beginning, and it seems like the Goobas should have somehow
would have been the ones to help them.
Yeah, and that didn't happen. But
it makes sense that they helped PD. PD helped them. They helped PD.
Right. Yes.
So that was the return.
I shouldn't complain about this because, as you said, this is clearly like the best episode of this series.
Yeah, clearly.
It's the only one that feels like Star Wars. I felt a little cheated that we didn't actually see the Emperor. Like you see the ship.
Yeah, I was looking forward to that.
I was too. And at the end, it drops down, like the door drops down, and you think somebody's going to walk out, but they go in, and you never actually see him. And I think that would have been really cool to see another character. And here's the thing that only you and I care about, and that's like the canon of where you place this stupid show, like in the franchise.
Yeah.
This kind of definitively proves that it has to be before Return of the Jedi because the Emperor is alive and in power.
The Emperor is alive, and there's no Death Star.
Yeah.
So it's so it's like the Emperor's coming to check out what's going on. Right.
Right. Yeah. So there you go. I mean, that's pretty definitive, I think. But I just don't understand. Like, I don't understand if they could use these characters and this world. Why did they only do it this one time?
Yeah, it's really a shame. And the first thing I thought of was when they dropped the Dulocks.
Yeah,
they should have replaced the Dulocks with stormtroopers.
Yeah,
and the stormtroopers would have been the dopey. What? Oh,
yeah,
the goofy slapsticky, they can't get things right. There's an admiral or a captain that keeps getting hoodwinked by the Ewoks, and it would have set it up better too with the Ewoks, this isn't their first tussle with the Empire, which is how they beat them eventually, because they figured them out, what they're bad at or what they're good at, and exploited it, right?
It was just so jarring to see stormtroopers and stuff.
I know. It was so jarring to see that Star Destroyer. I was like, that's a Star Destroyer. I know. What the heck?
I know. Yeah, they really went for it, which is crazy. I had to look up Rhaegar because I thought maybe that was, I thought maybe some of these characters were a carryover from the Droids show, because he looked familiar to me, but I guess it's just like an 80s character design. But no, it's, his only appearance is here.
Yeah, he's a one-off. And
he's just a one-off. Yeah.
That's my, I don't want to get into the Oak of Arcs, but that was my one negative about it. And I had to think about it for a while, that I was like, really, what about this episode? And I thought, an estranged doctor? Really?
Yeah.
I don't know, that to me seemed strange, I think,
I mean, they probably couldn't, really, he should have been a Sith, because the relationship between Rhaegar and Admiral Kaz is pretty similar to Vader, and then he had the Imperial commander that he was always
yes. He also assumed with the Emperor gone, he'd be Emperor.
Right.
So there is some sort of hierarchical, he would have to be either some sort of Sith, or a mystical warlock type deal with
they must have just Sith. Not been able to do that because it's too obvious. And I was trying to say, the sequel trilogy has the same with Kylo Ren and Hux. It's that same relationship between the Emperor.
Well, they didn't have the Sith yet.
Of course,
that wasn't a thing, right? I mean, we didn't hear Sith in 4, 5, and 6, right? Did
Sith,
we ever
no, but
hear?
no, but Sith is actually
Yeah.
in the original Alan Dean Foster novelization of the first one. So like the concept of the Sith was there from the beginning, but it's not said in the movies. But
It's not ever said.
but
Okay,
I
yeah.
feel like that was still the idea that he was supposed to be a
Yeah.
bit of like a Vader kind of stand-in. Well, you said it at the start, but like right at the beginning, well, first of all, we start on a starscape, and we get the
Mhm.
title, and it almost feels like a wipe as it goes up, and then you see the
Wipes
Imperial.
up.
Like it was
Yeah.
very, very Star Warsy, which was exciting. I loved hearing the Star Wars blaster sounds, like
Oh,
when the
yeah.
I mean, it was
All
like
the
that's
sounds,
just
the
the sound.
door sounds, like
Yes,
everything was
I know,
Star Wars, and I was like,
I know.
"Oh, this is great!" Like it was so refreshing.
The fun droids. Like I thought Petey was a really fun, like giving him the backstory of like wanting to get back to his original master and stuff is just cool.
Yeah, he's so much
I
fun.
I love that he had like an arc. Like he missed
Yeah,
his master. Like he could have stayed with the Ewoks, but he's gonna like take the escape pod and go off and try to like reconnect with his master. I'm like, let me watch that show. Can we spin it off? Is it
yeah.
too late? I
Is he
love
gonna be in Droids? I don't know.
that
I
droid.
don't know. Maybe. Oh,
No,
that'd be
that'd
great
be
if he
cool.
was.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
I loved the village. Like when the village. First of all, like I really don't get why Wicked told him where the village was. That was crazy.
You're right.
But we saw everybody. Like we saw the
Yep.
Walklings again. We saw Logray, of course, got some play. I feel like we've never seen Chief Chirpa and Shadu interact for one, and they were like together.
Yeah.
We
I don't
saw
think they've been in the same
everybody.
frame.
I don't
Yeah.
think so. And we saw everybody. So it was a really, I was looking at this as a finale, and I thought that it was really nice, to see the whole
Yeah.
gang and like Wicket get something for his belt and like, it doesn't feel like a big resolution, but it feels like kind of a level up in storytelling and was suitably epic, I think, to be a finale, which was nice.
And it's also hard to believe that this is Paul Dini and Dale Scott. That it's like this feels like completely opposite from what we are used to.
Yeah,
from both of these guys.
I would be really interested. I looked to see if there was any kind of like commentary on this episode or interviews and stuff. If there is, and listeners know about it, please find us on Twitter or Facebook and let me know, because I was trying to figure out, like, was there some restriction that was lifted? Was there some like, all right, go ahead and like use the Empire and everything?
Season's ending anyway. Just go ahead.
Is it was because it was the end? I just don't know, but it's so odd. It's a complete reversal of like everything they've done before.
Why not do it all season? Yeah,
I know.
You make a point.
Yeah, yeah. What is your Ichiwawa moment? What was the most exciting part for you?
My Ichiwawa moment was the fact that this was the first Star Warsy episode. I mean, we've been crying about it all season, and man, if these episodes were half as Star Warsy as this one,
a quarter,
I think we would have been happy. That would have been like, it was a silly episode, but like they at least had a fight with stormtroopers, or they fooled the stormtroopers, or there would have been like an essence of this is still Star Wars, not some weird Smurfs reboot, So I think for me it was just just the very opening. I got like goosebumps, just being like, whoa, this is it. This is a Star Wars episode of Ewoks. Bizarre. You know?
There's a million things I could say that was mine, but they all kind of fall in that same category. I really liked hearing all the sound effects again. That was great. But I think the thing that I liked the most was PD and his little PD-28 and his whole thing, like how he got there, him trying to get back. I just thought it was very, like, and originally, like in Lucas's mind, C-3PO and R2-D2 were going to be like kind of the stars of Star Wars, and in a way they are.
Yeah.
But like their journey, like trying to get back to their original masters and stuff, is so like quintessential Star Wars that giving PD-28 that kind of a story and like having it sort of go off and he's going to like try to do this, I just thought was really cool and felt, like a Star Wars thing to do.
You know what I just realized too? I feel like those droids that Dr. Rhaegar had almost looked like the droids from The Mandalorian.
Oh, okay.
They have a similar like head. I had to go back and look. They're kind of like dome headed.
Yeah.
But they got that like piece in the front. They got the angled eyes.
Yeah.
they look like those destroyer droids or something
Yeah,
from the whatever his name
I
is,
see
Moff
that.
Gideon's like
Yeah,
personal droids,
yeah,
or at least kind of like a spin-off of it, right?
yeah.
And so it's just like, and there they are, kind of like that's almost like a nod to this type of droid. But yeah, like that PD-28 was great, man.
It
You're
was.
right. I mean, that was
Yeah,
he was such a gem in this episode, even though this was his initial first thing, I felt like he was very Star Warsy.
that and see,
Like, you
even
know,
just having a character like that, I think would have been really helpful to the Ewok series. Because remember,
yeah.
I do not remember his name, but in Battle for Endor, they had that little friend who was really small and could like zip around really quickly. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah, the little like wispy old like
Yes.
leprechaun dude, the white leprechaun. Yeah, I
Just
can't
yeah,
remember his
like the
name.
little fuzzy, but having a character who's not an Ewok, who's kind of like a sidekicky character would really help. So if like PD-28 was there the whole time and he was just kind of like in the mix of it, I think would have really added a nice bit of like
Yeah.
layer to the storytelling. Or just go back and get Larry. Just go back and get Larry and have Larry be a regular on
Well,
the show.
Larry was such a great character because they
Yeah.
set up kind of like his own little mini arc in a
Right. Which
12-minute
is the same
episode. They
thing that we
managed to
have here.
do
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
Where if PD, I think you're right that one of the greatest aspects of this character is that he had his own little arc.
Yeah.
Now we probably would have just been as happy if he didn't,
Yeah.
and it was just, hey, I just want to help you,
Yeah.
you know? But the fact that they set up this little mini arc and they were kind of able to close it at the end of
Yeah.
the episode, like, dude, why not
I
have
know.
done this all season
I
long?
know.
Like, you
I know.
did it. It's not even like they did this episode at the beginning and then kind of started going downhill.
Yeah.
We kind of started going downhill, and all of a sudden this episode, like, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm
It's
surprised they didn't make a third season based on this
It's
episode.
so strange to have this episode thrown in here, just the way it is, because it's
Yeah.
still like it is a little unbalanced because some of the like Ewok-y aspects of it still felt stupid to me. Like I'll give you my Oak of Arc moment was
Oh yeah, like
when they
mirrors.
get pulled into the escape potty thing and they're like getting pulled away, and Latara, there's like a close-up on her face and she's like, we're gonna die, like all big and crazy. I thought it was so irritating, and like the
Their
stuff
weird
that
slapstick.
the stuff
Yeah.
that I didn't like about this episode was all the stuff that's been irritating about season 2. So like
Yeah.
it's still present, but I don't know, like something about just having like recognizable and cool things happening made those not as annoying to me. But that Latara moment was definitely my Oak of Arc. What was yours?
That's so her though, Well,
Oh,
mine
it
was
is.
the doctor, just like
Yeah.
maybe that's weak. I just thought like, oh, really, an estranged doctor? But I guess it kind of makes sense that
I
he's like
really think it's because they couldn't say he's a dark Jedi or whatever, because he's fulfilling that
yeah,
role. So there
yeah.
must be
It would have
some
been
legal reason why they couldn't say that. But yeah, that's true. It didn't really make any sense. What do you
Rhaegar
got?
too was such a strange name. I don't know. It just seemed like wouldn't it have been cool if it was just like a rebel. He reminded me of like the antithesis of Indiana Jones,
Mm,
where he's like the Indiana Jones character, but the bad version of him, where he's like
right.
working for.
Yeah.
You know what it reminded me of too? You ever played a game Return to Castle Wolfenstein, where it was
I
just
played the
like
original Wolfenstein way back in the day, but that's it.
yeah, the Wolfenstein 3D. No, this was like I think Return to Castle Wolfenstein was the second iteration that came out in
Okay.
like
Okay.
uh maybe 2001 or
Oh
something.
yeah. No.
2002, like a long time ago. Anyway, but it was like it was about the Nazi Germans looking into the occult for weaponry and power to defeat the Americans or to defeat the Allies, right? So this was
Okay.
like Dr. Rhaegar is an imperial doctor that's like, oh, I know of this Sunstar
Right.
that will give me power, but he's gonna
Yeah.
take it for himself rather
Yeah.
than like allow the Emperor to have it, And so, is the Sunstar some sort of like like Jedi Sith relic? Because we
Maybe.
go
Yeah.
to in episode 9, right? There's that yin yang
Yeah.
symbol inside of that Jedi temple where Luke disappears,
Yeah.
right? And so it's like, is the Sunstar, does that represent something like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, maybe.
I
Maybe.
I mean, because it is yin yangy, right? So now it's
Yeah.
just like, man, now there's like, this is the episode that they ought to be, they ought to be like
Good.
including some lore stuff from, because it's
So
like it's packed
stupid
with it,
that, like,
dude.
we waited this long to get it. I mean, we've already kinda
Yeah.
hit the moral lesson, and that was, like, the, help others because you never know when you're gonna need help yourself,
Yep.
which is not the most altruistic way to say help others, but it's like, help others
You
because it
shouldn't
might
help
benefit you.
people because
You're
you think
right.
they're gonna help you
Yeah.
back. Yeah. You should just help people, you know?
How
So, but
many
yeah, I
nub
get it.
nubs
I thought it was
do
good.
you give this episode?
Dude, I'm gonna go for 5. 5 out
Yeah,
of
I have
5.
to
I
agree.
freaking
I
love this
have to
episode.
agree. It's
It was
what I've
so
wanted the
good.
whole time, and we only got it once.
This was the bar. This was the bar that
Yeah.
like I wish I could be giving this episode like a 4.25 because
Right.
there's been an episode that's better, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like, oh, this is like a 4.25
Yeah.
or 4.5. No, but like I remember giving 4.5s to episodes that were like not Star Warsy at all, but were fun and the story worked and it was engaging and I wanted to see more than a 12-minute episode. Where this, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I feel like we're coming to a close and it's
Yep.
just so good.
Yep.
Man, what about you?
Well, yeah, I think I would have to go 5 too. I mean, I think it's
Yeah, of
just
course.
yeah.
Of course.
I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know what else you can do. And it's not that it's a perfect episode. There are still
Mhm.
irritating parts and there are things that don't quite like connect, but it's just like this is what you do. This is how you make an Ewok cartoon.
In
So
comparison to
yeah, so
everything,
the
this
fact
is
that we finally got
this
it.
is I mean, this was the script. This was
Yeah.
the how do we outline our episodes? This should
Yep.
have been it. That's why I
Yep.
give it a 5 because
Yep.
it's like yeah, they could have done this type of episode 12 times
Yep.
and just changed it around a little bit
Yeah.
and it would have been fine. They could have had Dr. Rhaegar as a returning character in
They
place of
could've.
Morag.
Could've been
Somebody
Morag.
trying to get the
Yeah.
Sunstar, except for the fact that like they just kept adding new people and it's just like, wow,
I know.
everyone so nobody knows
consistency.
about the Sunstar on Endor, but everyone not on Endor knows about the Sunstar.
Yeah,
You
right,
know, like
somehow.
some weird stuff.
Somehow it's well known. Well, let's do it. We have all the episodes in the can now. We've seen them
Okay.
all. Let's talk a little bit about the series as a whole. So here is here's a question. It's a dangerous question to ask considering our podcast is so heavily focused on the Ewoks TV series. Would you recommend that someone watch the Ewoks cartoon?
Oh man, you've been waiting all week to ask me that
I have,
question.
yeah.
My answer is no, because you should find out about the Ewoks by living vicariously through our podcast.
Do this Endorian
That's
life.
the textbook answer.
Yes.
I think I would recommend it to somebody who had kids like our kids' age, between like 5 and 10, and then
Yeah.
watch it with them, right?
It's I don't think that I honestly don't think that I could. Like
but
even
not to an
'cause-
adult person.
No, not
like,
to an adult, but I feel like even as a kid's cartoon, it just doesn't really work because it's so all over the place. And sometimes
Yeah.
it feels boring. And a lot of times, like when I would put this on, like to watch for the episode, my son would be like, "Oh, can't we watch something else?" Like it was
brutal.
even though he
yeah.
I know. Even though he enjoyed some of it, it just wasn't really like, yes, I have to watch this. So I don't know. I would be
Yeah.
hard pressed to tell somebody they have to watch it. I think I'm more forgiving of the Ewok movies.
Yeah.
I think like get some friends and a pizza and watch Caravan of Courage and Battle for Endor and like you'll have a good time. Like they're
Yeah.
not great, but I feel like those, you have Warwick Davis. It kind of is expanding that, the Ewoks and Endor a little bit more. You're seeing the mystical sides of it and stuff. That I feel like has some value. This I really would be hard pressed to say yes. Watch 26 episodes of this.
Yeah. And it's funny, like I've seen episodes of Droids before. I believe I'm
have
pretty
too.
sure I have. So when we watched that, like I remember that feeling fairly Star Warsy, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, you have Anthony Daniels as C-3PO, and you got R2-D2. I mean, like just the
Yeah.
visuals of it.
Just the visuals alone, it felt very. The dynamic between the two characters, I remember, was very spot on.
Yeah.
With the movie saga.
Yeah, for sure.
So this, it's just like, you know, the Ewoks in this felt very much like Ewoks from the Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
You know, so
I mean, honestly, like looking at this, like I don't think I would say like never watch it. It's garbage, but I feel like I would say, you know, watch a couple, like watch To Save Deej from season 1. That was one we really liked. You know,
yeah, like the
maybe watch
Rach,
The
right? That was a
Rage.
pretty
Yeah,
good one.
and I think if somebody was like, I'm never gonna watch the Ewok show, you know, I might be like, well, try Battle for the Sunstar. I think if it was somebody who was not gonna watch the show but wanted to get a taste of it, I would say Battle for the Sunstar, because it has things that, you know, you will recognize as Star Wars. Like, I think it is the only one that adds any kind of like any kind of dimension to the storytelling of what Star Wars is, because you see sort of like a proto Vader, you know, on this a little side quest. You know, you see like the Empire sort of building and looking for these, you know, mystical things, and you know, there's something there. But I would be really reluctant to tell somebody, watch all 26 episodes.
It would be like, you know, when you were a kid, did you love Care Bears and the Smurfs? Then maybe
we'll just watch
you'd
those.
watch this. Did you love those? We'll just watch those again.
Yeah.
No, like, I mean, it might be. I mean, I think if I was talking with somebody and they were like, oh yeah, I remember watching that as a kid, then I might say, why don't you go back and watch it? That'll be fun. But like, yeah, to somebody who's like, I'm only a casual, like, yeah, I've seen, you know, 1, 2, and 3 episodes, 1, 2, and 3. I'd be like, why would you even, you know, request or say, oh yeah, you should totally watch this.
Yeah,
this has nothing to do with episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Yes, I mean this has to go in a for completists only kind of category. You know, like if you particularly like the Ewoks in Return of the Jedi, then maybe check one out. You know, if you want to see everything Star Warsy, then like, you know, dip your toe in the water here a little bit. But I think the thing that I really can't get over is just how inconsistent it is. You know, like we had sort of that serialized arc in season 1, and we had a more serious tone in season 1, and then we switched to season 2, and it's like Looney Tune Snorks ripoff.
The colors were bubbly. The colors were off. The voices were off. The stories were just too chaotic.
If it was always like the serialized kind of thing, and even if I didn't like it, that would have some value. If it was always just like, it's goofy 10-minute episodes of Ewok hijinks, that would have some value. But like watching it as we have, like basically every week for the last, this is our 50th episode. You know, like we have been entrenched in this now for 50 episodes, you know, and watching it the way we have, it's just, you never know what you're going to get from episode to episode. And it just makes the viewing experience like not rewarding, you know?
And it's been, I mean, if it's even been the difference between like, man, we really hated, you know, like episode 7A, but 7B was awesome. Like they had nothing. It was the same team that wrote it.
Yeah.
But they had a feeling like they were written by completely different teams.
And that's what's so crazy, because 90% of these episodes are either Bob Carew or Paul Dini, you know? And then you just have a few, Linda Wolverton, you know, Michael Reeves, just a few tossed in here who wrote other ones. And it's crazy to me with that, when the writing team is so small, that even with that, it can't stay consistent. So those would be my picks. The ones I mentioned. To Save Deej from season 1, I think is a good standalone. Really liked the Rach, as we've said multiple times. And I think like for just a bite of Ewoks where you want to see some Star Wars, Battle for the Sunstar. I feel like if any is required viewing, and I use that loosely, it would be Sunstar, you know, just for that purpose.
Was Larry's From Home is where the shrieks are.
Oh,
right. I think that's,
yeah.
That's only because I love Larry. And the fact that he comes back was such a great, I mean, we needed that.
Exciting.
We needed that little breadcrumb to continue through the series. You know,
the Leaf Queen, you know, was a fun character to see a few times. We only saw the Wisty, who's always in the the opening, is Rena,
Yeah.
who was in Caravan of
Isrina,
Courage.
yeah, the Princess
She's
Isrina or something like that.
she's like the little fairy creature, the Queen of the Wisties. She was in the movie, and then she was in like 1 or 2 episodes of the series, but she's in like the opening credits of everyone. Not a lot of recurring characters, and the Dulocs just disappeared.
Yeah, they're just
I
gone,
don't know.
man.
Like the last time we saw a Duloc, I don't even remember, but their presence in season 2 was next to nothing.
They were referenced only in the party Ewok, right? Because the
Party Ewok,
pugs were like, "Oh
he
yeah,
said,
there's a party at the Duloc camp. Let's
yeah,
go!" And it's just like,
that was the poster that
what?
Wicket made.
We didn't even get to see the Duloc
I
camp.
know. I know.
Like that would have been nice,
Yep.
All right, it would have
Yep.
been a little 10-second scene of the pugs pulling up and then starting to bully the Dulocs would have been great.
None of this was how I was expecting it to go. Even the
Not
Ewok
at all.
movies, which I had more memories of than that, none of this has followed what I thought was going to happen, what I thought my response was going to be, because I love classic cartoons. I love 80s cartoons. I have a lot of 80s nostalgia, and I was expecting that all to come washing back to me. So I sort of feel like we've bamboozled people into listening to this podcast about a show we hate.
Hey man, it's only up from here. I mean, I gotta be honest.
That's right. Think of all the memories we've made. The way we've tortured Hillary with that terrible episode. All the time Crystal Storm has put into
all
this.
The time she came back, and we made her come back, and it was just as bad.
Yep, just as bad. A lot of beautiful
Sally.
memories.
Didn't we have Sally come for that one episode that was supposed to be like spooky, but it like totally was not?
A haunted village, and it was not scary at all.
Not haunted or scary at all.
Yep. We had the time that you missed the recording, and Kendra and I did an episode without you.
Oh yeah. Which will never happen again. Because it was too good. And when I listened to it, I was like, oh man, never again.
She's out.
Never again is that happening. I think I texted you right away. Like,
you did.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. I heard it. You guys are too good together. Can't ever happen.
Pretty crazy. I mean, 50 episodes. It's been 2 years and 50 episodes.
Yeah. People are still listening.
I know. My favorite thing about the start of this podcast was I was just driving to work one day. They announced vintage, and I was like, oh man, it would be so fun to do like a vintage Star Wars podcast. And I just texted you out of the blue and was like, hey, we should do an Ewoks cartoon podcast. And you were like, when? I am ready. That's all it took. Just a random thought while I was driving to work, and you were just like, I'm 100% in. And here we are.
I had purchased this microphone and did nothing with it. And when you said that, I was like, I am ready. I am ready to go. Let's do this.
It was a sign. Yep. Well, I may not have enjoyed many of the episodes, but I've enjoyed every episode we've recorded together. So that's something. That's something.
We've always had fun. We've always managed to find some fun aspect of the episode, however terrible it was.
Yeah, that's true. And now, I mean, truthfully, like, who is more of an expert on Ewoks than you or I now? Nobody.
Nope, we are I'm expecting my call from Lucasfilm, not Lucasfilm,
whatever they have
Disney,
to do.
when they're gonna. We need somebody to come in. Are they dressed right? How's the voice?
Somebody's got to
write the colors right.
The Ewok Bible for a future series. They're gonna have to call us. But
we should.
Yeah.
You know how they have all those books like the Jedi Tome and like the Sith writings? We need to make one that's like the Ewok cookbook,
warrior belts.
Warrior belt guide.
Yeah.
We should
start my gosh.
our own like Boy Scouts.
I'm calling DK Publishing right now. We're gonna make this happen. Let's talk a little bit about our post Ewoks. I mean, the Ewoks will always be a part of this podcast, of course.
Oh yeah. Let's be honest.
Looking ahead, our very next episode on May the 4th, so Star Wars Day, everybody. We're going to be talking about Beth Revis's The Princess and the Scoundrel, which is a Han and Leia book, which features the Ewoks pretty prominently. Logray and Wicket, Chief Chirpa all get specific shout outs and scenes, so very Ewoky. So hope you'll read along with us there. Then we're going to be moving into covering the Ewoks comic books. There was a comic book spinoff of this, and the Droids cartoon.
Yeah, man, how exciting is that?
So all fun stuff. Kendra she has requested an episode of Droid, so we'll have to get her back on. But you have to.
We'll bring everyone back on.
Yeah,
I mean, let's be honest.
True.
We all got to.
That's true. I know. Looking ahead, I'm like, how can we lure Crystal? How can we? What Halloween special can we get Sally back for?
Because she'll be back. Crystal was the one that I feel like we tortured the most.
Yeah,
that got the worst episodes. I think.
That's true.
But
yep, I think you're right.
I don't know. Yeah, she'll come back. She'll come back.
Yes, I agree. Well, I'm looking forward to taking our full steps into the beyond here for our next batch of episodes. Remember the book club crossover we're doing with How's Things is The Princess and the Scoundrel by Beth Revis, and then on to the Ewoks comics in the Droids cartoon.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm enjoying Princess and the Scoundrel. It's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's
a little sizzle for next time. All right. Well, happy 50th episode, Steve.
Yeah. Happy 50th episode.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us on this wild Ewok ride. As the Ewok chapter of our adventure ends.
Yes.
We'll open a new chapter of the Droids, and there'll be a couple crossover stuff. So, you know, we'll still see our old friends.
Yeah, we've got some more Ewok contact hidden up our sleeves, so they'll be back. They'll be back.
And I got long sleeves, man.
You do? Yeah, lanky.
I do.
All right.
Very lanky, long. Yeah.
All right. See you next time.
Yeah. We'll see you next time. This Endorian Life was brought to you by the Radio Meanwhile Network. Other shows on the network include 90s Music Got Me Like, 9021 Here We Go, and previously on X-Men. Share your thoughts on this and upcoming episodes by following us on Facebook or Twitter at Endorian Life. And please rate, subscribe, and share this show wherever you get your podcasts. Eat Chihuahua! Eat Chihuahua!